Hello, hello, this is Kara, and I wanted to show you what I'm hoping to do for Christmas in July. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 6 of these cut and ready for journals. I'm using random boxes, cereal boxes, and a cracker box. And I'm hoping to make 6 journals and possibly a little golden book journal to have them ready, either for gifts or whatever, one for a December daily. I'm not really sure. I'm gonna give this a go. We'll see how it goes. So these are all cut, and I think they're not all the same size, but let me give you an idea. About 6 to 8.5. This one's 8 1/4. But yeah, I was going for around 6 and 8.5 for my size. So the next thing I'm gonna do is find some either white fabric or muslin and glue them on each of these. So I'm gonna go do that, find my fabric. I'll be right back. All right, so before I add this white fabric, I added a coat of white acrylic paint just because I was afraid the cover would go through the fabric and you would see it on the cover. The fabrics I ended up choosing for the covers, I don't think I would have needed this step because they were dark. So I think it was just an extra step that I probably didn't need to do. And then on the inside of the cover, I end up using paper. So again, probably an extra step. So what I'm doing now is I've added Mod Podge, and then I'm going to put this piece of fabric over the cover. And again, this was to kind of soften the colors. You wouldn't see it showing through the fabric, and it also gives the cover strength since it is kind of a thinner piece of cardboard. So I just kind of did this in sections. I am using I think it's a makeup kind of brush from Dollar Tree. It's one of my favorite things to use for things like Mod Podge and spreadable glue. And then I just went and I kind of would smooth it out a little bit, and I did this for all 6 of the boxes. So I have an assembly line. I would do one part and then the next part and then the next part. Thankfully, living in Arizona, it doesn't take long for things to dry. So then after this step, let me show you what I did. Okay, so now I have all 6 of the covers with the fabric and or muslin. And then I'm going to do the same process, but this time I'm going to add the fabric cover. So here again, I'm painting this on to my fabric. You'll see a few wrinkles in this one. Unfortunately, it dried that way, but I'm going to add some other things to my cover, so I'm not too worried about it. And what I didn't show you is I use a quilter's, what's the word? A quilter's fabric cutter. It's a lifesaver since I cannot cut a straight line, especially with fabric. I will see if I can link it below if it's something that you are interested in. It's just a really long, big ruler, and then it has a roller kind of thing. It's a little too big to fit on the screen, so that's why I didn't film it. But I went ahead and I cut all my fabric pieces first, and then I went and I'm adhering them all to my covers. See, a little bummed about little bubbles, but I think once I add some things, it'll be okay. And then again, I go back and I just keep adding Mod Podge for all of the covers. All right, then, since this is my last of the 6, I'm showing this next step. What I would do is I would glue the front and then let it dry and then come back for this step. So here I am, I'm cutting off the corners and I'm going to fold over the fabric to the inside part of the cover. And this just helps with having less bulk when you fold it over and to also help make nice corners. I do think I'm going to add some metal corners to the books if I have some in my stash, but I still want to make them look as crisp and nice as I can. So now I'm just using my finger instead of the tool and adding the glue and folding it over, and I'll do it to all 4 sides. Alright, once I have my covers glued down, then I decided to use some lace or ribbon. Oh, first I'm going to show you, I'm going to punch a hole at the top of the spine so that I have a place for a dangle or a tassel to hang off the spine of the book. And I'm doing this now so that I can cover the brad with some fabric so that it doesn't get in the way. This is a step I always forget, so I'm glad I remembered. I actually forgot in one of the journals, and then I was like, okay, don't forget from here on out. So right here, so you'll see the brad. The little thing I'm using is a Tim Holtz, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's a brad and it has a circle on it so you can hang things. All right, so then I'm deciding what lace I want to use, and this will be the closure. And also a step I tend to forget if I'm going to do a closure like this. I'm going to glue the lace to the book cover. This makes it strong, and it just, I think it looks really nice. And I try and eyeball the center, and then I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac to glue it in. Once the lace is glued down, then I'm going to take a piece of the same type of fabric that I have on the cover, and I'm going to cut this down, and this will go in the spine, the middle of my book, and this will also help cover up that brad. Here I'm not using the quilter's cutting tool. I'm risking it and using my scissors, but I'm okay because I know that if I cut it wide enough, the paper that I'm going to put down will cover my mistakes if I cut anything a little wonky. And I don't go all the way to the end of the book. I want a little bit of space between, see right there, from between the top of the book and where this fabric goes, but I want to make sure to cover the brad. So it's a little bit wonky on that side, but it'll be hidden under some paper. Then I go ahead and I'm going to glue this down. I could continue to use Mod Podge, but I kind of switched over to my Fabri-Tac, but either one would work. Try and line it up, eyeball it, get it nice and straight, and then smush it down. And then again, I went and I did this with all 6 of my books before moving on to the next step, just to give this time to glue and dry before I added my paper. Again, I think this was the last one I was doing, so I'm going to continue on. And now I am measuring my paper, or the size I need to cut my paper down to, and also trim off some of that lace. Since each of the 6 journal covers are different, I had to make sure to measure each one. It would be fantastic if I had all of the same size, but my boxes my cereal boxes and my cracker box didn't lend for that, so I went in and I had to measure each one, which wasn't that big of a deal since I have 6. So I'm just measuring in this part. I always get worried that I'm going to cut the wrong size, but I did it correctly for all 6. I was pretty proud. Me and measuring are not always the best. Oh, and by the way, these are Christmas backdrops from Tim Holtz, and I thought they went with the Tim Holtz fabric perfectly. Very excited. I think it looks great. So then I'm just kind of seeing where I think they look good, making sure they cover all the bits of fabric behind, and then I use my fabric tack again and I just glue them in. I am planning on going back with my sewing machine and sewing around. I put an order into Amazon to buy myself a guide so that hopefully I can sew straight lines. I will let you know how it works, but I'm not going to do that part until I get that sewing guide, because I really want these to be straight, and I want to make sure to cover all of that inside paper when I do my stitching. Alright, so it looks pretty good. Here I'm showing you the little metal dangle piece. Yeah, I think it looks good. I'm very excited for how they are turning out. So that one is pretty much ready. And here I'm going to show you the other ones. I'm super excited for how they're looking. I think they're just turning out really cute. Love how that gingham goes with that fabric. So fun. And they're all the same but different, which is really cool too. And there's that one. I'm liking the 25. I like how that just kind of happened. So there are the 6 so far. And then I move on to paper. So I'm going to use some copy dyed paper, some Norman Rockwell book pages, Ideals magazines, music sheets, and Cozy Christmas. That while this is filming, I'm currently printing out. So I think it's between 8 and 10 sheets that I'm going to use for my signatures, depending on how big the spine is. 1 or 2 of the books have a pretty small spine, like it's 1.5 inches, so I might use fewer pages in those. And here I'm just measuring to see how big the page is again, and then I'm just going to go in and just start cutting the pages. I also add 2 more backdrops that I've just folded in half to add something for a little variety to the books. So in the next part 2 of the Mask Making Journal series, I'm going to probably move on to making some pages that I can glue on to the pages that I'm cutting down here. I'm not going to sew the cover just yet since I am waiting for that guide from Amazon. So I hope you come and join me. I think the next video will be really fun since it's about making pages, and then I'll probably do some ephemera in the next video after that, and then kind of see where we're at and kind of build and put the journal together. So yeah, I hope you stick with me. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't and you're still here, I would love for you to subscribe. That would really be great, and a like would really help my channel as well. Okay, I hope you have a wonderfully crafty day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.